Hi, hope you enjoyed that video. PM Lee really outlined it pretty well and directly. We have concerns. Singapore, being a small country, has serious concerns. Now, these go beyond just the fact that we don't have natural resources. If you look at it through the lens of sovereignty, borders, legitimacy, security, and population, we need to really cherish and value all those four components that we have built up over the last 50 odd years because we are quite vulnerable. So I'd like to move into our country, I'd like to move into Singapore and to look at sovereignty through the lens of being Singaporean. Now, if we understand that Singapore is a miracle story, we grew very fast in a very short amount of time. We have a good economy, we have a stable political theater, we have a stable political environment, and we have a well-rounded social structure that looks after the population, that provides us with a quality of life. We need to think about just how valuable we are to ourselves, obviously, and to others, and how distinct and how unique we are. So I'd like to just go through a little series of factoids on Singapore. Let's take the first one. If you look at the economic aspect, when Singapore was expelled from Malaysia and when we became independent in 1965, our GDP per capita was $500. That was the same as Ghana, a country in Africa then. Now, what has our GDP become? We've risen from that $500 to over $55,000 today per capita. That's the largest increase in history, in modern history, that any nation has experienced. That distinct sharp rise in providing a better quality of life, to providing opportunities, to providing economic growth for the country. Singapore is unique in that way. Now, what else? If you look at the social aspects and infant mortality rates, the infant mortality rates for Singapore reduced faster than any other state or society. In 1965, it was 35 to every 1,000 live births. Now, if you understand a bit about infant mortality rates, you know that it measures the lifespan of newborns in their first year and how many newborns died in that first year due to flailing, social conditions, economic conditions, health, environment, whatever. There were 35 for every 1,000. And it went down. If you take midway through, if you take the 80s, between 60s and today, if you take the 80s, in 1985, that number reduced dramatically from 35 to 10. So where are we today? We're in the single digits. So that shows a great reduction over our lifespan as a sovereign state. We also enjoy good education. Our education levels, our education system is world class. Education levels are high. Our graduates are wanted all over the world for jobs and career prospects. So we're pretty good there as well. In terms of home ownership, very important part of being part of a population of living, standard of living, home ownership. Singapore has 90% of residents owning their own homes. Albeit, yes, public housing constitutes a huge part of that number. But you've also got to think about the forward thinking that went in at our founding fathers when Singapore was left on its own to fend for itself. The concept of public housing, the HDB, really answered that future problem of an exploding population and how we are going to house them in world-class conditions. So we've built up a pretty good infrastructure for our population there for housing. So these are just some, I thought, factoids that might be interesting to you to think about, and why, to show you how special Singapore really is as a small state. Now, going back to that vulnerability angle, how vulnerable are we? Well, we have borders, we have a bustling population, we are independent as recognized internationally, and we have state-of-the-art defense systems to protect ourselves against antagonists. So sovereignty is crucial for Singapore's survival, just like it is for any other country, but more so, I think, for a small state. So Singapore is a small state. Singapore is a city-state. I'd like to just stop here and have you think about what a city-state is. We've heard it all our lives that Singapore is a city-state. Are there many city-states in the world? The answer is no. Singapore is unique again in that way. We are one of a handful of city-states left globally. What is a city-state? A city-state is basically when the state is made up of a city and nothing else. There is no hinterland, there are no townships, there are no border regions. Singapore is a city within a state, and that's it. If you ever filled out a form, be it written or online, and they ask you for your address, and what do you fill in city? Singapore, obviously. What do you fill in for state? Singapore. What do you fill in for country? Singapore. Now, not everyone enjoys this consistency. If you come from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, city would be Kuala Lumpur, the state would be Selangor, the country would be Malaysia. So that kind of emphasizes, the size and the compactness of being a city-state. So what's so special about being a city-state? Well, let's talk about how many there are in the world left. Back then, when I say back then, back in the golden age of the city-state, we're talking, just past the Middle Ages, in the age of the Renaissance, there were quite a few in Europe. There was the Italian city-states, there was the Florence, Milan, Rome. They were all independent, sovereign, and powerful. There aren't many city-states left. So who are they? These are 4 known and accepted and recognized city-states. Singapore is one. The first one is Monaco. Monaco is a country just off the coast of southern coast of Italy. It is not part of Italy. It is not part of France. It is sovereign. It is a principality under a monarch, the Prince of Monaco. The population is about 37,000, 22 square kilometers. Now that's not a very huge space. 2.2 square kilometers, sorry. That's not a huge space. It's 2 kilometers square. And the GDP is an area of 5.4 billion. Most of it through its gaming industry. As you know, Monaco is famous for its Monte Carlo casinos. So it's a small place and it thrives on its casinos. So that's one. There is also another city-state. There is the Vatican City. The Vatican City is a religious state, the Roman Catholic faith. It is a city within a city. The Vatican City lies in the heart of Rome, but it is not bound by Roman law. It is not policed by Roman police. It is not governed by Roman officials. It has its own security force. It has its own population made up of religious clergy. It has its own head of state, which is the Pope. The population is 139, not very large, made up mostly of staff who work in the Vatican City, and it's a minuscule size of 0.4 square kilometers, right in the heart of Rome. You also have the third city-state, which is also Italian in a way. It was part of Italy before. It's San Marino. It's a place south of Italy. It's a republic, much like Singapore. It has its own parliament. Its population numbers 32,000, 61 square kilometers, and its GDP is 1.9 billion, mostly from agricultural products that are exported. So these are the three. Now I'd like you to look at the fourth, your country, Singapore. And let's compare numbers, shall we? Singapore is a parliamentary republic, like San Marino. Its population is bordering on 5.8 now, 5.7, 5.8 million. Now look at the numbers in comparison with the other three city-states. Stands out. Look at its size. At 716 square kilometers, it stands out as well. It's a relatively large city-state. But what's most startling is the gross domestic product, which is loosely defined as the wealth of a country over a period of a financial year. And the wealth of Singapore last year was $445 billion. Now, if you look at the four, you will immediately notice that Singapore stands out on all fronts. We are rich, we're small, we have lots of people, we're a multicultural society, we're a parliamentary republic, we are a global player in the political, economic arena around the world. We are a vibrant garden city, and we attract a lot of tourists and business and trade. So Singapore, being a city-state, is unlike many other city-states in the sense that we are much larger than life. We are much larger than our size, one might say permits. We are very successful. Therefore, sovereignty is very, very important to us, to protect our interests, to protect our resources, and to protect our way of life. So despite its small size, we are a major global player. But we can't get away from the fact that we are an island. We can't get away from the fact that we are a city-state. We're dependent on a lot of resources that come to us, that are procured by us. Now, one of these resources that is very important to us is water. Now, we used to solely depend for our water supply on our neighbor Malaysia for many, many years since our independence. But that has changed somewhat. We've learned that to be completely self-sufficient, we need to make water a very important tool for population survival, need for population survival. So what we have now is the 4 taps when it comes to water. We still have the pipes that come from Malaysia, supplying us with water. We have the catchment areas through our reservoirs and basins. We have new water, which is technology put into through reverse osmosis to clean, to desalinate water and make it potable. And we have the barrage, the Marina Barrage, which gives us huge amounts of water from the sea. So I'd like you now to watch another video. This is a beautifully crafted video. It's called City Made from the Sky. So have a look at that video. It's about our water supply and why it is an important aspect of our sovereignty. So I'll see you right after the video for closing. Enjoy the video.